conference championship weekend was nuts. We had some surprising results that had some ramifications on the college football playoff. And in today's video, I'm going to go over my top 25 for college football, along with my bowl predictions and my top 5 Heisman contenders. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Let's go ahead and get into my top 25. We'll try to run through this so we can go over the bowl games. But teams that just missed it, Fresno State, they ended up beating Boise State. They are the Mountain West champs. They just missed it here. Cincinnati is on the verge of getting back into the top 25. And then we got Mississippi State, Ole Miss. Obviously, Mississippi State probably has the edge over Ole Miss since they had the win in, I think it was the season finale. And then South Alabama, Man, oh man. I really think it didn't matter if it was Troy. I don't think it mattered if it was the Jaguars. Whoever was going in that game was going to crush Coastal Carolina, I firmly believe. But my one faller this week is Central Florida. They almost made it a game against Tulane, and then Tulane pulled away late. Let's go ahead, get to the top 25. North Carolina, dropping a few spots. I didn't expect them to beat Clemson, and they didn't. And they're here at 25 because they still got a pretty solid record. I still think they're one of the better teams in college football. NC State is the team that jumps into the top 25 this week. They have the win over North Carolina, which did happen in overtime, and they did this while they were all banged up at quarterback. And I mean, they've been banged up for a large part of the season at a lot of positions. So I think this is a very gritty team with a lot of moxie. Troy, they are your Sun Belt champs. They move up to 23. Texas, solid squad. They I think they sit here at 22, as well as UTSA, as they are your conference USA champs. Going to the next set of group here. It's wild. Notre Dame, South Carolina, they're going to be facing each other in the bowl game. And yeah, they're going to remain at this spot. Really, the only big mover here was LSU, who got just annihilated in the SEC championship game, which a lot of people figured was going to happen. So UCLA holds on to their spot. Oregon holds on to their spot. Moving on to the top 15, Oregon State holds on to their spot, while Tulane jumps into the top 15 here at 14. Congratulations. They are your AAC conference champions. Florida State here at 13. They're a really good squad and should have probably been the team that was facing Clemson, but sucks when you're in the same division. Washington, they moved down a few spots because of some of the outcomes that happened in a few of these Power 5 championship games. So they moved down to 12. But all in all, man, Washington's a really good squad. Kansas State, they are your Big 12 champions with a very gutsy performance. They were down multiple players in the secondary. They had some injuries throughout the game. They were still able to edge out TCU, man. Big fan of Kansas State this year, man. They played a hell of a season. On to the top 10, Clemson, they're here at 10. I think I really thought about putting Kansas State in front of them. But yeah, I'm just going to rock with them here now that they got the quarterback change. I don't know what that means for the future. I think we're probably going to see DJ Uiagalelei in the transfer portal. So transfer portal is going to be lit again. That's going to be great. USC, Utah is their kryptonite. They have lost twice to Utah. That game was pretty close going to the fourth quarter. Then Utah scores like, 20, 23 in the fourth quarter to make the win look larger than it actually was. But congratulations, Utah being the Pac-12 champions and screwing over USC's chances at making the college football playoff. Then I got Penn State here. They are one of the best teams in the Big Ten. Like literally the Big Ten goes Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and then the rest of the Big Ten. Like they're a really good squad. They just happen to be in a very tough division inside their conference. Alabama, that's right. They're here at 6 for me because Tennessee has the win over them in the head-to-head. If you want to make a case, Tennessee doesn't have Hendon Hooker, I don't think that changes at least my order for the top 25. If we were going to make an argument about which team maybe should have won in the playoff, then yeah, we can make that argument. Or if this was like the expanded playoff, we had 12 teams, and it came down to seeding, then yes, you can make a very good case, Alabama over Tennessee. But when it comes to these rankings, Tennessee has the tiebreaker. I think Tennessee had the better season. Hendon Hooker was special. Bryce Young's pretty darn good, though, too. So Tennessee is number 5 here. And then the top 4 is as you see them. That I tweeted this out last night, that this is what the top 4 should be. That's how it ended up being seeded. We'll talk about the individual games for the playoffs a little bit later in the video. But Ohio, listen, if you were one of those people, I had someone try to tell me on Twitter that Alabama should have been over Ohio State. And I think that's ludicrous. I think the only case you can make for Alabama being over either TCU or Ohio State is you just think Alabama's the better team. Because when you look at resume, no, it does not compute. Like TCU, they lost to, they have a win over their over the team that have won the Big 12. They have a win. That's their only loss of the season. So, like, I think TCU, even like from going against the top 25, might have a better or similar resume to Alabama, and they only have the one loss. Ohio State, someone try to tell me, listen, they lost by 22 at home. Like, they watched the game. Because if you watch the game, you know that was a one-score game with 8 minutes to go. That Michigan's offense wasn't moving outside of like 5 big plays that happened to result in touchdowns. Like, Ohio State was moving the ball. They just couldn't turn field goals into touchdowns. Like, the game was a lot closer than people try to make it sound, and Michigan did a great job pulling away late, and you could be like, oh, they were missing Blake Corum, and it's like, yeah, that's a big part of their offense, but still, like, I think Ohio State's the right choice for this 4th seed. I don't think you can make a case for Alabama. I really don't. I just don't think you can. TCU had a wonderful season. It's a shame they didn't win the Pac-12 title. Ended up Kansas State is their kryptonite. If you go back to the first game, Kansas State had to go through they had Adrian Martinez get hurt in that game. They had Will Howard get hurt in that game, so they were down to, I think, their backup, and they squandered the lead in that game. TCU, man, they've had a lot of butt clenchers this season. Michigan, they won the they won the Big Ten title. Good for them. That was kind of a foregone conclusion for many. Georgia, another one that was kind of a foregone conclusion for many, as they just LSU didn't even come to play. It was like 35-7 at half. It was a blowout. But let's go ahead, get to these bowl game predictions. All right, we're gonna start from our earliest bowl game. I got the odds up here, and that's what I'm gonna make predictions off of, as Miami, Ohio against UAB. UAB is 11.5 favorite, and I would just take UAB with the money line. Dwayne McBride has had yet another very good season for the Blazers. On to UTSA versus Troy. I'm not going over unders this video, but the Troy is actually a 2.5 point favorites. So give me. I've loved UTSA this whole season. I love Frank Harris. Give me UTSA on the points. This is the team that likes to score a lot of points, and they got weapons to do so. Guys like Joshua Cephas and Franklin, man, are just have been monsters. Zachary Franklin, there we go. I was trying to remember his first name. So yeah, I'll take UTSA plus 2.5. And then we have Cincinnati versus Louisville. I think this is a battle between like backup quarterbacks. Currently, the line's Cincinnati is a 1.5 point favorite, depending on who's playing in this game, because Louisville actually has got some decent draft talent on that defense. I might be tempted to take Louisville on the money line, and I think I will. On to SMU versus BYU. BYU are the underdogs. SMU is a 2.5 point favorite. I am willing. BYU, man, is just this team. I don't think they could beat good teams. Their only, like, their biggest win this season was, what was it? Was it Baylor? I think. I don't know, but I'm feeling frisky. I want to take SMU. Just giving me them on the money line. Then we got Washington State versus Fresno State, the Mountain West champs here. Washington State's 4-point favorite. I don't disagree with that. Cam Ward's been special this season. If he could clean up the decision making and the turnover worthy plays, man, I think he's going to be a top 2024 draft prospect. But yeah, I'll go with Washington on the money line. On to Rice versus Southern Miss. Southern Miss is a 5.5-point favorite. I think this game could end up being that close where it's tempted to take Rice in the points, but I'm just going to go with Southern Miss on the money line. I love me Frank Gore Jr. And then Florida versus Oregon State. Oregon State's actually a 7.5-point favorite. This might sound weird. I don't think it is. I'm going to take Florida plus 7.5. I really like that. I think for Anthony Richardson, he needs this game. Because I think in all likelihood, he's coming out for the draft. He needs to excel in this game. And I think he can, and I think he will. So I will take them 7.5. I actually really like that bet. Really like it. North Texas versus Boise State. I think this is a Boise State win. Boise is a 7.5-point favorite. I don't trust them with that many points. Just give me them on the money line. On to Marshall versus Connecticut. UConn. UConn is a 9.5-point underdog. Do I think they can cover that? I don't feel great about that, but Marshall has had some stinkers this year as well. But I think I'll just lean Marshall on the money line. It's a really good offense, especially with the run game. And I mean, I love what Jim Moore is doing with Connecticut. It's just, they ain't there yet. And then we got the Idaho Potato Bowl, San Jose State versus Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan's coming in, the underdog, 4.5 points. Can't really say I've watched much of either team this year. I mean, I've watched a little bit of San Jose's defense. So I'll probably lean San Jose State with, not with the points. I think I'll just take them on the money line. Liberty versus Toledo. I love me Toledo. 1.5-point favorites they are. Give me them plus the points. I'll take that. I'll take Toledo with minus 1.5. I'll take that. Liberty has kind of fallen apart at the seams, and Freeze is off to Auburn. So you got that. And then we got South Alabama versus Western Kentucky. This ought to be a really fun game. This really should be. This one could go either way. I can't wait to see what the points are in this game. Like the over and under ought to be like 80 or something, right? But we do have South Alabama as 2.5-point favorites. And I'm going to kind of lean with just them on the money line. I really, really have liked the Jaguars this season. And then Baylor opens 6.5-point favorites against Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl. If you don't know about what Baylor means to me, I hate Baylor. I absolutely hate Baylor. I've lost every Baylor bet this year, whether it was an over-under, me betting for them, against them, taking points. Baylor has cost me parlay after parlay this season. So I wouldn't want to bet this game, but if I had to, just give me Baylor on the money line. And then in the Independence Bowl, we got Houston versus Louisiana Lafayette, with Houston being the 3.5-point favorites. I like Houston. I think I might be willing to take them with the 3.5. Then we got the Wake Forest Demon Deacons and the Missouri Tigers. This one's interesting. Wake Forest is are the 1.5-point favorites. I kind of lean Wake Forest. This being Sam Hartman's final hurrah, his final game. So I think I'm gonna go with. I think I'll go Wake Forest on the money line. Middle Tennessee State going against San Diego State. San Diego State's defense has been really good. They are minus 1.5. This is the Hawaii Bowl. So Middle Tennessee's a long way from home. So I'll just take San Diego State on the money line. Going to the Quick Lane Bowl. Bowling Green versus New Mexico State. New Mexico State is a 1.5-point favorite. I'll take Bowling Green in this game, giving me them on the money line. I'm an absolute sucker for Carl Brooks and that defense. I'm curious what the over-under will be in this game. Georgia Southern taking on Buffalo. We got Georgia Southern being the 4.5 point favorites. That sounds about right. Georgia Southern's been a team capable of competing with some of the better teams in their conference. So I'm going to go with Georgia Southern just on the money line. And then the First Responders Bowl, we got Memphis versus Utah State. Memphis, 10.5 point favorites. They played a lot of teams in the AAC extremely well this season. I do think they're a better team. They're a team that's better than their record. I'm not going to take the points in this case, but I'll just go with Memphis on the money line. Then Coastal Carolina versus ECU. Eastern Carolina, no kidding, 7.5 point favorites. Coastal Carolina, man, they've been blown out quite a bit this season. Like if they win, they win close. If they lose, they're losing by like 30 plus. I'll just go with ECU as the on the money line. I don't feel really good about either of them. And then we have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Look at the name of some of these bowls. Freaking wild. Wisconsin versus Oklahoma State. Wisconsin is a 2.5 point favorite, but I'm going to lean Oklahoma State with the points. I'm going to take them plus 2.5. I like that. This is probably Spencer Sanders' last hurrah with the squad if he's healthy. So I mean, this was a team that was hot at one point, man. Maybe they could rekindle that fire in this game. Then we have Central Florida versus Duke. Central Florida is a 3.5 point favorite. I think the Gus Bus is off the tracks. I'm gonna go with Duke this game. Give me Duke plus 3.5. I kind of like that. And then Arkansas, they're taking on Kansas in the Liberty Bowl. Arkansas is a 4.5 point favorite. Just bet them the money line. I'm feeling good about them. They will get KJ Jefferson back next season, so Arkansas should be fun to watch next year. And then we have the Holiday Bowl, Oregon versus North Carolina. Fun. Who would have thought? Fun fact, Oregon, 9.5 point favorites. That sounds about right. And I'm not going to lie, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Oregon minus 9.5. I like that. I like that a little bit. Texas Tech against Mississippi State in the Texas Bowl. This one's at home for Texas Tech. They are 3-point underdogs. Give me Texas Tech plus the points. Ole Miss and the Lane Train have not been good in recent weeks. Syracuse taking on Minnesota. Minnesota is a 6.5 point favorite. Tanner Morgan done this season? I don't know, man. I need to look at that. I don't see any news on it. He's been out for a few weeks. I don't know. I think regardless, I might lean Minnesota in this game because they have a lot of talent on that squad, despite the quarterback. It sucks because I really like Syracuse. Maybe I take Syracuse. I think I might take Syracuse plus 6.5. Yeah, I think I will. I think I'll take Syracuse plus 6.5. All right, on to Oklahoma versus Florida State in the Cheez-It Bowl. What? Florida State's only a 7.5 point favorite? Man, this is another game I'm tempted to take Florida State minus 7.5, and I think I will. All right, on to Texas versus Washington in the Alamo Bowl. This is at Texas. Texas is a 3.5 point favorite. This one's going to be interesting. I think I'm going to roll with Washington plus the points, 3.5. I think Michael Penix this is his last hurrah before he jumps to the NFL. So, I know it's in Texas, but I think I'm willing to take, that's a really good Washington team. It really is. Then we got Maryland versus NC State. Man, it's like Maryland's back in the ACC. In the Mayo Bowl, we got NC State 2.5 point underdogs against Maryland. Oh, man, this is such a gritty Maryland team. I keep saying gritty. I think I'll lean NC State with the points. Pittsburgh versus UCLA. UCLA, 3.5-point favorites. Just give me UCLA on the money line. Pittsburgh, you never know when this team's going to show up. They like to occasionally do so. This is DTR's last game with the Bruins, so yeah, I'll go with him. This one I'm fascinated with. It's going to be Notre Dame and South Carolina in the Gator Bowl. This is a very fascinating game. This really is. Notre Dame is the 4.5-point favorites. I think I'm want to ride with Beamer here. I'm loving me Beamer Bowl. So yeah, give me South Carolina 4.5. And then Ohio versus Wyoming. Wyoming is a 3.5-point underdog, and I'm taking that. Wyoming has often covered the spread this season. They've done a great job at doing that. They've been one of my favorite teams to bet on the spread. We're going to continue to do so. That Wyoming defense, low-key, really good. All right, we got Tennessee and Clemson in the South Carolina is my daddy bowl. The Orange Bowl. Who are the favorites? Clemson's currently the favorite at 4.5. There's going to be a quarterback change for both teams. Tennessee's really gotten to settle under their quarterback. Oh, man. This one's actually a toss-up for me. Even without Hendon Hooker, man, I think this team could still play tough. I might be willing to take Tennessee plus the points. I'm not confident with that, though. And then we got Kansas State versus Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. Man, that sucks. Kansas State, you win the Big 12 title, and you get rewarded with the team that's pissed that they missed the playoffs. Alabama, they're 5.5-point favorites. I would just bet Bama in this game. I don't think Kansas State can clear those points, but Alabama, they've had a few tight ones this year. But yeah, I would just go Alabama money line. Iowa versus Kentucky. This game, 3.5-point favorite is Kentucky because Iowa doesn't play offense. Will Levis, he needs to shine in the Music City Bowl. If he wants to help his freaking draft grade out. So yeah, I would lean Kentucky here. Leave the points I have this. Just bet Kentucky money line. I mean, Music City. No, that's Tennessee. Why was I thinking Music City? Why was I thinking Nashville was in Kentucky? I don't know. All right, now we got the playoff games here. So we got TCU versus Michigan. Michigan, no surprise, opens 9-point favorites. I think that's about right. I'm going to go with Michigan here, but I will be rooting for TCU in the playoffs. Hopefully they can make it to the second round, but I will lean Michigan. I think that's a safer bet. And then we got Ohio State versus Georgia. Georgia is 6.5-point favorites, and I feel like if there's a game to do it, it would be this game. I'm either taking Georgia money line, but I'm tempted to take Ohio State plus the points. Be fair, Georgia's offense is a lot more competent, so just give me Georgia on the money line, which means we'll have Georgia versus Michigan. I could see Georgia opening probably like 7.5, 8.5-point favorites in that. I think Georgia's probably right now the best bet to win the national championship. But we do have a couple of other games left here in bowl season with Mississippi State versus Illinois. Mississippi State, 1.5-point favorites. Just give me Mississippi State on the money line. No, Illinois has disappointed parts of the season. But you know what? No. Just give me Illinois on the money line. And then freaking Tulane versus USC. Yo, this can't be right. Tulane is a 1-point underdog? They're only a 1-point underdog to USC? That can't be right. That can't be right. That's wild. Like, I love Tulane, but I don't think they're on that level. I mean, I guess I'm taking USC. Give me the point. I think USC will win this by multiple scores. I think Tulane will make it interesting, but not enough. And then we got LSU versus Purdue. LSU is the 5.5-point favorites. I'll take Purdue plus 5.5 in this game. LSU is, they haven't had the finest last few weeks. I'll just say that. And then for our final game in here before the national championship, this one's going to be a banger. Utah versus Penn State. What's the line on this? Many of them got pick'ems, or there's one place has Penn State plus 1.5. One place has Utah plus 1.5. It's really a pick'ems game. They got the line on here, Utah minus 1.5. It really is a pick'em game. Man, this is gonna be a fun game. I'm tempted to take Utah. I'm tempted. I think I would just take Utah on the money line. Yeah. But let's go ahead and get to my Heisman contenders, my top 5 Heisman contenders. All right, top 5 Heisman contenders. Starting with number 5, Michael Penix Jr. Didn't play this week because they weren't in the conference championship game. He's had a really good season, 33 total touchdowns. He has really ignited a Washington team that was coming off a really down season the year before. Next, I got Max Duggan, who honestly put the team on his back, especially on that final drive to get him into overtime, where I think he had 90 of his 110 rushing yards on that drive, something like that. 2 total touchdowns. He's had a really good season, so he's here at number 4. I think he's a shoo-in to be an invite. I think really at number 5, I think you could switch it with a few guys, but I think my top 4 are shoo-ins to be invites. Hendon Hooker should be an invite. That guy would have been competing for the Heisman if not for the injury. Number 3, Bo Nix. He ended the year with 42 total touchdowns. Didn't know he had a receiving touchdown this season. That was kind of funny. But yeah, he played exceptionally well for Oregon and did a lot of rehabbing of his draft stock, man. Good for you. Number 2, I got C.J. Stroud. He threw for 37 touchdown passes this season. They came so close to being Pac-10 champions, or Pac-10, Big Ten champions, but at least they made the playoffs. So I got him in number 2. Honestly, I think him and Bo Nix are pretty interchangeable. And then number 1, Caleb Williams. He's had just a special season. I think it had been on par with Hendon Hooker, and yeah, he had 3 tutties. Really, I mean, there's not much he could have done to change the outcome of that Utah game. Utah's offense just was jiving, man. It just was. But I think he's probably the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. As always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.